Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here, returning to you tonight for this next. Excuse my belching. I'm just was eating something real quick, having a little snack, and then going to bed after this review. But other than that, I wanted to return to this next Judas Priest album for Turbo that I got a chance to listen to as well for myself to see what I was going to think of the 10th studio album for their 1986 record, Turbo. So I'm going to discuss what I listened to for the 9 songs, which is about a 41-minute record, and let you know my thoughts on Turbo overall. So let's dive into this album review. Now it starts with the Turbo Lover, which I thought was okay. It wasn't anything special at all. I understand that some people may like this song, but me personally, I thought it was okay. It wasn't anything mind-blowing, but it's worthy enough for a 3.25 out of 5, and that's being generous, because honestly, I would have given it like a meh rating, or kind of just but it does have some solid. I think the verses were kind of weird with how Rob Halford was singing it, and just when the chorus came in, it was kind of a snooze fest a little bit. It was like, this is what they got with this record. This is not going to be that great. So, honestly, 3.25 out of 5 for Turbo Lover. I just thought this track was kind of okay, but could have used a lot more work with the execution of how the melody is structured and how Rob Halford kind of should better at singing this song a little bit. He's still a good singer, no doubt about that. It's just with this track, it didn't present anything special. So, like I said, 3.25 out of 5. Locked In is another one that I thought was okay, but it's a song about locked into your love and all that stuff. And it's like, okay. It's kind of cheesy, but it's just, I'm like, let's get through this. So, that's how I felt. But I didn't hate this song, I just thought it was okay. It's not something I'm gonna remember. So it's one of the weaker tracks on the record, along with Turbo Lover. So the first 2 singles, even though they are singles, kind of are just, 3.25 out of 5 for Locked In. Private Property actually was a good track. Even though the lyrics are a little sexualized, I think this track actually worked with the melody, in my opinion. But it's just how it's structured. It's a solid track, but it's not one of the best songs on the record. Not like one of the tracks on this record that I kind of enjoyed, had a little bit of enjoyment of. But other than that, 4.5 out of 5. Rob Halford sings it alright. And just the way the chorus comes in, it sounds a little catchy for the most part. And I think with what they went for with this song, they at least put effort into making it a good song. The last 2 songs, they didn't put any effort. They just threw it in there and were like, here you go. What do you think? Basically. So, yeah, 4.5 out of 5. Parental guidance is decent. It's nothing that I was very crazy about and gung-ho about, but I thought it was alright. It's just a decent track for how it sounds. Could have been better utilized if the melody kind of didn't sound a little cheesy. So, other than that, it's fine. 4 out of 5. Rob Halford singing in it's alright. And drum work and guitar wise, it's fairly solid. Rock You All Around the World was mediocre, nothing amazing or anything. I don't know, I just wasn't really feeling for this track too much. It was kind of like, okay, it's on the safe side, but it still has some cheesy moments. So 3.75 out of 5. I don't know, they brought out a lot of cheesiness in this record, and I can see why not a lot of people like Turbo. So Out in the Cold is the next song, and that was a decent one. Nothing special, but nothing great. I thought this track was going to be something good for almost 6.5 minutes, but I was a little let down by this one because it just didn't throw me in the loop of enjoyment. So, like I said, it's decent. They at least made an effort to try to make it a good song, but the execution didn't land with some of it, with how Rob Halford was singing it, and just how the drum work and guitar work was sounding, and the mixing for the song was kind of fairly decent. 4 out of 5. Wild Nights, Hot and Crazy Days is actually my personal favorite track on this record. Surprisingly, I know a lot of people may not agree with this, or may have a different opinion about the song, but I personally dig it for how it sounds. I think it had a little more of a Judas Priest vibe for their hard rock kind of sound to it. They made it a good song for how it's sounding overall. So Rob Halford sounded good vocally in this track, and just the way the song was performing did very well. So 4.75 out of 5. At least I can say that I liked one song off this record. The other ones are solid, but nothing that I'm going to come back to. I would say probably 2 songs I like from this record, and none of them are singles. So, yeah. Hot for Love is decent. Nothing special, but just like, eh. It's something in the mediocre to decent kind of range. But I think this track actually had a more decent kind of listen because of the fact that Rob Halford actually tried with his vocals, and this track, execution-wise, the melody could have been a little better utilized with how it sounded, but it is what it is. 4 out of 5. And finally, Reckless kind of closes the record out in a okay way. So, another 4 out of 5 for this one. I don't know, I just wasn't really feeling for this one too much, but how Rob Halford was singing it was alright. And overall, this track did fairly decent for how it sounded. So overall, production, mixing, and execution-wise, what do I think of Turbo overall? Turbo is meh. It is one of the weakest records. It's not as weak as Rock-A-Rolla, but it's almost that weak of a record. It's not going to get a disappointing rating, but I would say this is kind of in the meh range. I would say Wild Nights, Hot and Crazy Days, and Private Property are my personal favorite tracks. Surprisingly, they're the highlights on the record. Everything else is kind of cheesy. It's kind of decent, mediocre, and fairly cheesy. But they do have a bit of cheese and cheesiness to it. So, overall, if I were to give Judas Priest's Turbo album a score, I'm feeling a meh 6 out of 10. It's just meh. It's nothing special. I'm probably not going to be returning to this. It's going to be on my lowest, like the top tier of the list for the worst to best of Judas Priest's ranking albums. So I would say Rock-A-Rolla is going to be at the very top. I will tell you that much, from worst to best. But overall, once I get to that ranking video, that's going to be after I finished Invincible Shield re-review. And yes, that is happening at the end after I finish Firepower. I'm doing a re-review of Invincible Shield. So hopefully you will like that. But overall, yeah, 6 out of 10 for Turbo. I don't know, the vibe to this was not clicking with me. There were only 2 songs I liked out of the 9. And that's kind of disappointing. The most disappointing aspect. And Turbo Lover and Locked In were my favorite songs. So, I don't know, I just wasn't vibing with those tracks, with how they sounded. So, 6 out of 10 for Judas Priest Turbo. Thanks for watching this album review tonight. Have a good night.